Holy Grail, Tuesday, January 28, 2014, 1:30 p.m. I wonder if I've done enough. Who knows? All I can say is I've done my best. I spent the whole of yesterday, the Australia Day public holiday, stealing time to write up my application for that job with McMahon, Finkelstein and Braddock. Kylie, who didn't know what I was up to, lost it any number of times about me being on the computer again. She can be more than a little perplexing in this regard. It's not as if I was meant to be doing anything in particular. To begin with, the gardening is on hold until the new roll-on grass and mulch arrive. True to Jim's word, his very toxic chemical has killed the entire garden, and following some considerable effort on Saturday and Sunday, its yellowed remains are now packed tightly into a skip on our front verge. And for her part, Kylie seemed quite happy to be reading. She enjoys historical romance novels. You know, those corpulent paperbacks, with titles embossed in cursive metallic pink and technicolor pictures of muscled men in billowing, ruffled tops, holding swooning, corseted women. By contrast, she insisted that I should be doing something useful. Of course, this meant practically anything other than being on the computer. The net result was that I didn't get a good run at my application until after Kylie went to bed. This in turn meant that I had to work until 3 a.m. in order to finish it and send it off. So now I'm at my desk after lunch, trying desperately not to nod off from exhaustion. I'm also wondering what it was all for. Even if I'm successful, am I really going to go through with my harebrained plan? I feel like that stereotypical Gen Y again, pushing buttons without really knowing what's going to happen. I look up to see a grinning Brad opening the door to his office. He's had another meeting with Lana. Poor girl. It seems that she has been especially in need of mentoring since she joined us last November. Previously, this had been Sonia's lot. She endured it almost from the day she arrived at our firm in July last year until late October, when she finally told Brad she would prefer fewer contact hours with him. Brad promptly told the boss of this insubordination, and then Dixon called Sonia in to give her a blasting. "You have to learn from your elders and betters. Since Brad is one of the best, you'd be wise to accept his generous guidance." I'm impressed that, despite references to the damage it could do to her career, Sonia has stood her ground. She is still obligated to go to some of Brad's meetings, but only when others are present. This was the deal brokered by our consultant, Nicole, who warned a rather stunned Dixon that something needed to be done to avert legal action based on sexual harassment. Sadly, Lana seems considerably less assertive than her fellow legal graduate. I worry for her. In this case, Lana's lips are tightly pursed as she leaves Brad's office. I try to smile encouragingly, but she doesn't notice. She's too busy making a beeline for her desk. Frank is right. I've been turning a blind eye to everything that's wrong in my life. And Brad, with his behavior towards the young women in the office, is just one example. I suppose that's why I put in the application to McMahon's. It's time to make that change, one way or the other. Speaking of Frank, I managed to duck over to his house early on Sunday morning while Kylie was at yoga, but he wasn't online, nor had he left any messages. It was probably just as well. I had intended to run my big plan by him, but now I'm starting to think I shouldn't. Something tells me he'd disapprove. He'd want me to do things his way. The problem is I'm just not ready to do that, and I suspect I never will be. No, I've got my own idea. If it works out, I might just be able to pull myself out of the mess that I'm in. In the meantime, all I can do is cross my fingers and wait. Everything depends on how McMahon's responds. If I think about it too much, I start to feel despondent. I keep wondering, who would want me? I know that, objectively speaking, I have the experience and ability. But then my recent slapdown by Mr. Dixon comes to mind, and the self-doubt floods back. There will be no such doubt in Brad's mind. If I am at one extreme of the Dunning-Kruger scale, then he's definitely at the other. The dumber he becomes, the more confident he feels. I'm shaken out of my daydreaming by the sound of Brad stomping off to the kitchen to warm up his lunch in the microwave. In a few minutes I know I will hear him in his office, scraping his plate with a fork, a noise not dissimilar to fingernails on a blackboard. This is his daily ritual. He scrapes exactly 6 times. There is a pause of 10 seconds, then he scrapes 6 times again, and so on, for about 15 minutes. Finally, he'll exit his office and stomp to the kitchen with an empty plate. Then he'll stomp back to his office, close the door, lie down, and mercifully for all of us in the open plan area, go to sleep for half an hour. As I think this, Brad passes me, both hands holding a steaming plate piled high with food. He goes into his office and closes the door with his foot. Within minutes, the scraping begins, and any doubts I had about proceeding with my big plan dissolve instantly.